Hello everybody and welcome to a cooking stream! This is sort of out of the blue more than anything else, but I hope that we're going to have fun today. There's going to be a few things that I'm going to be making today, a couple things, both themed from No Man's Sky, which has been a game that we've been playing a lot here recently. So first and foremost, we're going to be making what is called an esophageal surprise, which is made out of, in the game, cake batter and cactus jelly or cactus nectar. So I'm going to be making use of blue agave syrup. Hold on, let's see. There we go. Blue agave syrup for that. I know where the camera setup is. This wasn't last minute at all. I don't know what you're talking about. And then the next thing after that is going to be, while this is baking, we'll be making a whispering omelet, which is made out of larval cores and tangy cheese. And that's going to be a fun sort of omelet with some Asiago cheese and chives and other stuff. Actually, probably not the chives. I think I decided to go for bell peppers, but that's okay. Don't you worry. Alright, so first things first, we're sort of just going to be going over the recipes, making them live here, and it should be a ton of fun. I have chat open here so I can see what you're saying as sort of cooking process happens. Feel free to ask questions and stuff as we go along. Let me know if anything's wrong with the sound setup. I did have to make a few adjustments so that this would work. But I hope everything is functional and going great. Alright, so first things first. So the ingredients that you want for the esophageal surprise, what I've decided to do is, and you might have seen it if you were looking at the menu for today, it's sort of like this round cake thing with some whipped cream on top, lightly dyed pink at the base. I have some red food dye, and we're going to see how well I can get that working in order to sort of create that sort of pinkish whipped cream at the top. But first we've got to actually make the cake, and so I decided to opt for something a little citrusy, which is really fun. So the ingredients that you'll want for the esophageal surprise are 2 oranges, 1/4 of a cup of agave nectar, 1 cup of granulated sugar, 3 eggs, 1 cup of olive oil, 2.5 cups of flour, 1/2 teaspoon baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. For the whipped cream topping we'll be making later, you're going to need a pint of heavy whipping cream, 1/4 cup of agave nectar, and some raspberries. And we'll see if I get around to the whipped cream topping today. That's something that you might make on your own if you want to. We'll see how timing works more than anything else, I think. The main focus is on the delicious sort of cake that we're going to be doing today. And then you can top it with whatever you want. I'm thinking of just topping it with the raspberries, because something like that for fruit would be really tasty, at least in my opinion. Some fruit and a little bit of agave nectar, if you don't want to do the whipping cream. Alright, so first things first, I don't have my actual oven set up with a camera or anything at the moment. There will be a sort of switch in between when we're done making and mixing all the ingredients together and pouring it into the muffin tin in order to sort of make these miniature esophageal surprises. And I will sort of shift focus and we'll move over to the stove so you can see the whispering omelet and everything being cooked as we're working on everything else. So, first thing you're going to want to do is preheat your oven to 325 degrees. Make sure that if you want to do something larger and use a round cake pan, or if you want to do something that's a little smaller in muffin tins, regardless, make sure you spray it with cooking spray or use parchment paper to avoid the batter sticking. So make sure to do that. I haven't preheated my oven, so I'm going to go do that right now and turn that on. Alright, and I'm going to be using my actual oven today, because my muffin tin does not fit in my toaster oven. It does a great job for a lot of things, but not for something this large. Alright, so after that, one of the important things is to grab your oranges. Next fundamental step. I just bought all of this fruit fresh yesterday, so I'm very excited. I'm actually going to move the bowl out of the way for now, because I'm going to need to chop these up. So we bring over my cutting board. Now, if you have a food processor or similar, that works quite nicely for this task. I do not. I don't have a lot of cooking implements here, so I'm sort of just going to be working with this hand chopper and the cutting board. And that's going to have to do. I also don't have an orange peeler, fun facts, so I'm going to be peeling these by hand, which will be fun. And by hand, I mean I'm going to grab a knife. Alright, just a little cut to get started. What is an orange peeler? Technology. Yeah, I know. No, we're gonna be heathens here. And I've just made a little incision with a knife, and I'm gonna be peeling the rest with my hands. So, utter brutality. But no, these are very, very large oranges, and the peels are easy to pry off, so should be no trouble. Hope everybody's doing well today. If you did something fun for the weekend, let me know, because this is just sort of going to be a chatting stream in between, you know, sort of cooking and putting everything together, because some of this is a bit tedious. Peeling oranges, for instance. So I'm just here to talk with all of you. Also, let me know if the music is too loud, because I did sort of set up special Tavern music for the stream. Hopefully that's audible, and hopefully it is not overpowering my voice. Now, if I'd been really clever, I would have set up the camera in a slightly better position where I could actually be looking while peeling and looking down at the cutting board, but I didn't, so here we are. A quick note about this recipe, you may be wondering, we're using, for the record, we're using blue agave syrup, because the actual recipe in No Man's Sky says cactus nectar, and this was about the closest thing I could think of. In general, I don't necessarily recommend using this over, alternatives, because blue agave syrup is extremely high in fructose. And for those who know a bit of food science, there are a bunch of simple sugars, a bunch of simple sugars, I'll say that much. And glucose on its own gets processed directly into the body. You know, it'll enter the small intestine, and all that fun stuff, and enter the body, be processed. You know, no further processing, required. Fructose is not like that. Fructose has to be broken down in the liver, and it gets turned into glucose, but also gets turned into fat. And so bear in mind, we are making a dessert today. It is not healthy. It may have oranges in it. That does not make it healthy. This is a treat, and no one should be under any illusion otherwise. Music's not overpowering, but could be a little quieter. You are audible fine already, though. Awesome. Thank you so much. Glad to know. I might turn down the music a little bit then, or I'll just speak a little bit louder. I'm normally a relatively quietly spoken person, softly spoken, for the most part. But I will do my best to project into the microphone, which is not in front of me, because the camera's here, but is actually off to the side, which is probably why I'm picking up a little bit more quietly than usual. Do let me know if it gets too bothersome, and I will turn down the music just a touch. Alright. So, one orange, good to go. Let me see, I'm probably going to want to grab, actually, a knife to cut the rest of it out, and then we got to do the other one. So, 2 whole oranges. Wow. Isn't this exciting? And these oranges are going to be mixed with the agave nectar until we get a nice juice, and then we're gonna mix that in with, into our batter, so it'll be a nice citrusy flavor. It should be delicious. All right, let me go ahead and slice this open, and then we can finish peeling that, and I'll go ahead and grab a knife. Alright, good to go. Made one little slice. And now I'm just gonna peel the rest of it. I hope you enjoy the music. This is sort of a DMCA-free fantasy, tavern compilation, and I thought it'd be fun for the sort of Bowtie Guild tavern theme that I guess this is going to be. I don't anticipate doing regular cooking streams, but hey, I don't know, if people really love it, we'll see. This is sort of an interesting thing. A lot of cooking videos tend to be in a sort of digestible YouTube video format because it's easier if you want to just follow along with recipes. This is more of a, hey, let's chat and talk about life and the universe, and I happen to be cooking and guiding you through a recipe. The recipes themselves are in Discord, so if you do !Discord or go to dsc.gg/bowtieguild, you can find them in the Food and Drinks channel. And I'll probably be, even if I don't stream them, I'll probably be coming up with other recipes that sort of fit video game themes, because that's fun. I really enjoy mixing together these genres. Cooking and video games. Lots of fun. We're hoping to I'm hoping to replicate both of the recipes as closely as I can, and I say as closely as I can. My goal is basically to make the images that we're given, sort of, as closely as I can from the game, because each recipe in the game obviously has some base ingredients that don't necessarily map to real life, but they do have images of the final product, and that's more or less what I'm aiming for. Alright. Great. Okay, that's both oranges. Good to go. Okay, now I can pull out. This one's been a little more finicky than the other one. That's unfortunate. That's okay. I'm gonna go, let's see. I can try to pull it out, but I don't know if I'll be successful. So instead of risking that further, I'm just gonna go quickly, give it a nice little cut, and then I will be right back. And then I will probably want to push this off to the side and take these apart, and then I'm going to, luckily this has sort of a little bowl at the bottom, and I'm going to go ahead and chop these up. Okay, and that is one orange, good to go. Let me go ahead and grab the chopper here. There's a ton of in here. I'm not going to actually grab another bowl, just in case. I'm going to move the syrup thing off to the side. I'm going to carefully try to figure out how I'm going to place these oranges here in a way that is mostly visible. Let me move the cutting board up just a tad. And I'm going to grab another bowl quickly so I can have a place to put this. You're going to want to, the sort of third step of this is going to be whisking the eggs, sugar, and olive oil together before mixing in the orange juice and the agave nectar into the mixture. So I'm probably going to want to grab a separate bowl for that. I don't actually have a ton of mixing bowls, if I'm being very honest. But I've got at least, at least one more that should do the job for this. So I'm gonna sort of do this in several portions. So with your oranges, you're gonna want to take them. And again, I recommend other tools for this other than a hand chopper. I just don't happen to have a food processor or similar. So this is what I'm gonna have to end up using. I'm gonna fit as much as I can, and I'm gonna try to chop it up. The goal is to get a sort of pulpy juice out of it. Is sort of coming along. Yeah, at the point where it no longer feels like I'm actually no longer chopping the actual orange, though it does look like some of these could be a little bit more finely ground. That's probably at the point at which I'm going to stop. Again, try to get this as fine as you can. The goal is really to get the juice and a bit of, a little bit of pulp remaining. You don't want too much of the whole orange in there. So I do see a slight orange slice that I think I'll probably need to go ahead and chop up a little bit more. So, again, not the best tool for the job, but I work with what I've got. Not the best tool for the job, and I gotta say, it cut really well at first, and now it's not doing as much cutting as I was hoping for it to do. So, backup plan, kind of, a little bit, and I say backup plan loosely, because I admittedly didn't have much of one, is to go ahead and sort of just, well, let's see. I could chop them up sort of myself, and then, and probably better to chop them up a little bit, and then into finer pieces, and then go from there. I think might be the approach, because it's possible it's just, too hard for it to penetrate. All right, let me go ahead and try that. Again, make your life easier. Get a food processor or similar. Okay, let me go ahead and grab something to chop this up into pieces. Good knife technique for the record. Have your knuckles here against the edge of the blade. Don't just leave your fingertips like this, because you don't want to accidentally cut your fingertips off. I'm just going to sort of break these down into smaller pieces. Should be easier to work with this way. Ah, the oven's done preheating. There you go. This step is probably the longest, because the rest of this is just going to be mixing together some of the ingredients that I already have on hand. But the oranges are the tough part. You gotta make sure that they are nice and broken down, because we're gonna be using them directly. Now, if you don't want to use, if you don't want to use, like, fresh oranges, you could substitute it by getting some orange juice, which is a little bit easier, but you have to take into account some of the added sugars in there. It might make it a little sweeter than you want, whereas these oranges are just, they're fresh oranges. So, just bear that in mind. Generally, again, food processor, blender, even whatever you happen to have available that can break these down into sort of better form to work with in order to mix into the batter. That's sort of your goal. While the esophageal surprise is baking, we're going to be working on the whispering omelet, which should be relatively straightforward. Omelets aren't too hard to make. Now, my original plan for all of this was actually to go ahead and have this set up over the stove itself, but unfortunately my cables wouldn't reach, so I improvised, and this was the improvisation that ended up working best. Alright, so that's one orange sort of cut up. Let me see if I can get this to work a little bit better in smaller pieces. See if this helps all. There we go, much better. Excellent. Love it when a plan comes together. Take these ones out, because they can't be. Yes, that is much more what I was looking for. Sort of a pulpy juice. Great. Let's go ahead and do the rest of these. Look at that. Part of me is tempted to just eat the oranges here on the spot. I absolutely love oranges. But that would be bad for the recipe, so... Sorry for how loud this might be. Those aren't quite as finely ground as the other ones managed to get. Alright, let's see. Maybe if I put in just a few less. It's possible it's just taking up too much space. I want them to be able to move around, get ground up. Cooking stream where you don't cook anything, you're too busy eating all the ingredients. That would be funny. And extremely tempting, especially when it comes to baking. Also extremely accurate in some cases. I am very easily tempted by by all of the lovely baking ingredients. No, the chocolate chips are just sitting there, and they're good on their own. Why not? A little bit more. Sorry that the first half an hour of this is just going to be chopping oranges. In hindsight, maybe I should have done that part ahead of time. All right. Get these ground down into smaller, easier to work with pieces. Okay. Great. Let's go ahead and get these chopped up. Right. Now, I am making a decent amount of batter. Whether or not I do one muffin tin or two, we'll see. Probably just the one to start off with, and I might save the rest of the batter for something later, but we'll see how that goes. There's one orange done. I just got to do the second one. All right. Oh, I'm so tempted to eat this orange. It smells so wonderful. Just the smell of citrus in the air. Absolutely delicious. Also, just a note, using a lot of agave nectar, and I mentioned before, this is substitutable. You can use plenty of other things for it, and I don't necessarily recommend the agave nectar unless you happen to be going for the theme for, this No Man's Sky food. In which case, it is completely valid. Just some food for thought. I say, immediately regretting my words. Okay, Get these oranges peeled, broken apart, and then sort of wrapped down. Now, this isn't quite as much of a juice as you might want. Mine's gonna end up being a little bit pulpier, but that's okay because I'm actually personally, I'm fine with having more of the fruit in the actual dessert. But if that's not your thing, turn it into more of a juice and then mix the agave nectar into it. And from that, from there, you should be able to, it'll just end up sort of mixed into the batter, just fine, like the rest of the wet ingredients. Without any trouble. Okay, I will need to get rid of these orange peels soon, because I am running out of room. Oh, disclaimer I should have said at the beginning, in case it wasn't terribly obvious, I'm not a professional chef or a professional baker. I'm a software engineer. I don't really know what I'm doing. I have baked a few things in my time, I've cooked a few things in my time. Some people have said they were pretty tasty. But I am by no means a professional in this regard. So if you are looking for professional chefs making this sort of thing, go check out, I don't know, pretty much anybody on the, the Food Network or something similar. They will be able to give you recipes the likes of which I cannot cook or master because I simply lack the tools. Well, that is almost all of them. Oof. This one is extra juicy. That's almost all of them up and good to go. Smaller the pieces, the better, I think, in this case. Then we can get to the rest of the actual recipe, which will be fun. I am excited for it. I'm excited to actually make the batter, instead of having to just chop oranges. Yes, it is a lot of oranges. It's going to be a decent bit of batter. This is good for if you want to make, like, 2 layers of cake, roughly. Now, obviously I'm not going to be making that much in the end, so feel free to upscale, downscale as you see fit for whatever you happen to be doing. But I might make a second batch of this sort of, I don't know, muffin cake, mini cake-esque composition later. Okay. Great, that is all of them. Good to go. Let me go ahead and get these chopped up. Just gonna do a few at a time. Don't want too many, because otherwise they don't get to move around and get chopped up. For those watching who are here, welcome, thank you. And do let me know what sort of recipes you enjoy making, things that maybe you've enjoyed baking in the past or cooking. Has there anything you've made recently that you really love? I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'm always looking for new stuff to cook. Let me know in chat if there's something tasty or enjoyable you've made or eaten recently. Again, much pulpier than actually intended. The goal here was more of a juice, but that's going to be pretty difficult in my case. You guys can do it better. I believe in you if you decide to go ahead and make this recipe on your own. This didn't get chopped up at all. Hindsight, I probably should have just bought the orange juice. I was contemplating it because I was like, do I really want to chop up all of these oranges? Like, it's the right way to do this, I think. But honestly, just getting some orange juice might have been better. So sticky after all this. So many oranges. So many oranges. Skip the orange portion, tune back in roughly 10 minutes. At which point I can be relatively certain I'll be doing something else. For the record, when I was making this recipe, this was step 2. And it's taken a half an hour. I love it when a plan doesn't go quite as you anticipate. I made a crap ton of black bean soup, and I've been eating that for the past week, but it's really tasty. That sounds delicious. I went out yesterday and picked up some dumplings and a noodle stew, a noodle soup from a local restaurant that I hadn't tried yet called Dozone. Dumplings aren't something I typically make at home. Generally, I prefer to get them from somewhere because most people can do it better than I can. And they were quite good, I gotta say. If you ever happen to be in Bellevue, try out Dozone. It's really delicious. I was surprised at how large the egg was in the soup, though. And not that that really matters, it just sort of, I opened up the soup and then bloop, up came the egg. And I was like, wow, that is a much larger egg than I anticipated. It was delicious, nevertheless. So, as I previously mentioned, all of these foods are based off of No Man's Sky. So again, these are just a couple of the many, many foods that you can make in the game. And that was my main inspiration here. There are lots of games with lots of different ways to cook things, ways to make food. But of course, No Man's Sky is a game that I love, absolutely love. So I wanted to do a bit of service. By making everything here on stream. This was something that I promised a while ago, and I wasn't really sure if I was going to do it, but I decided, hey, why the hell not? It's a fun thing to do, and that was kind of my only reason for it. It's fun to do. I'm just gonna move this knife out of the way. the last of the oranges chopped up, and then we'll be good to go to move on to something else. I'm here, by the way, just not that talkative. Good to see you. I'm Ian. Hope you're enjoying the food stream. Don't worry, the orange chopping portion will be over momentarily. At long last. Okay. Let's go ahead and get the rest of this here. In case you're wondering where this green dye on my hands came from, don't worry about it. That's for something later. And it's a lot more dye than I think I realized I was putting on them. Let's just say I decided to go a step above for some of the ingredients that we'll be using in order to make them feel like they're actually from No Man's Sky. Oh, right. Great. And I'm probably just going to use the actual juice from this and less so more of the pulpy parts, I think. So I'm going to try to get as much juice out of this whole operation as I can and mix that in with the agave nectar and hope that's sufficient and maybe a little bit of pulp. But actually, I think there's enough juice in this bowl that I can probably make everything work the way I'm intending to. I say loosely. Follow the recipe in the Discord if you want to do this properly. A little bit more so than what I'm doing with oranges here. Again, food processor, please, or a blender, literally anything. I just don't happen to have either. But Logan, you say, it would have been a really smart idea if you'd gotten that ahead of time. And to that I say, yes, you're probably right, but I didn't buy one. Instead, I have this hand chop. There's no reason I suppose I really couldn't have bought one, other than the fact that I moved up this stream like 2 weeks ahead of when I was originally planning on doing it. The citrus in the air is making me salivate. Oh, are you actually cooking this yourself? Or is it just the thought of citrus? Because, boy, I absolutely love it. Oranges and most citrusy fruits are some of my favorites. This isn't really chopped, but that's okay. Oh, at this point, I think this is mostly good. These are the harder ends, which is why I haven't been using them. The sort of edges of the orange that aren't really as good for chopping. Regardless, I'm not going to get much juice out of them. There's a lot of juice still on the board, if I'm being honest. Okay, let me go ahead and move. I won't need this. We're done. We are done with the hand chop. It is gone. We don't need it any longer. And I'm going to go ahead and move this off to the side. Right, I've also washed my hands, so they're no longer quite as sticky. I'm good to go. Now, I'm just saying that even watching you do all the slicing and chopping of oranges and make me want to have some, that is extremely understandable. I absolutely love oranges. Oh. Look at this. Lovely little batch of oranges. Again, I strongly recommend getting these much more finely chopped up. But I don't have the implements to do that today, so I'm just going to use what juice is sort of in here, and maybe some of the more finely chopped up pulp in order to be able to do that. Okie doke. So, with all of this done, let's go ahead and get to the next step. I'm going to move this off to the side. Let's go ahead and grab the bowl. So we've got our lovely mixing bowl. My green dye stained hands. Alright, So, first things first. Take 3 large eggs. Fantastic. And with the eggs, you're gonna also want to get the cup of granulated sugar, which I'm gonna go grab. I have my sugar in a large container over there, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get some out of that. Get a little bit more. So we have 1 full cup of sugar. Again, this is a sweet dessert. Right, let me go ahead and move this off to the side. Now for the olive oil, we're gonna 1 full cup. Assuming my olive oil wants to open. Let me move the eggs up so I can have a little bit more room to move some stuff around. Don't need the bag there anymore for the oranges. Figure out how to open this bottle, I think, is the first step. It says twist this way. There we go. Yep. That's exactly what it says it is. Oh, right. In it goes. Great. Now we're gonna whisk all of this together. I need to go grab my whisk because I didn't bring that over here before. Do that. move the olive oil off to the side. We're going to go ahead and whisk all of this together until it is well combined. Okay, and the next step, you go ahead and grab a a strainer might have been a smart idea. Just to grab these salad tongs that I have and use that to sort of mix here, and then I'm going to get some of the pulpier bits. We might actually just put this in. I'm going to be mixing this directly. Anything that is pulpy getting mixed in. Because I want the sort of orange to bake into the actual dessert that we're going to be making. Should be quite tasty. Now, under ordinary circumstances, you'd probably want as much orange juice out of all of this as possible as you can get, and you'd want it to be, again, more finely ground. I've said that a few times already, but I'm reiterating the point because that was my intention in making this recipe. It is not necessarily how it all came out. So I am just taking sort of pulpier bits here and mixing them in, and they're going to become part of the batter. And they're going to just add, hopefully, more of an orange sort of zest into it. That is the intention. Anything that's ground up in here, that's what's going on. The next step after this, we're going to want a fourth of a cup of agave nectar. But specifically for this, and I don't know if I'm ever going to really use it again, if I'm being completely honest. But it's serving its purpose here for today's sort of video game themed. All it is. That's just going to freeze it. So you're just going to want to first look after this. The goal here is a very sweet, very unhealthy, but perfectly delicious dessert. So, now that we've gotten sort of part of our orange mixture, the agave nectar, and everything together, so I can bring everything into, combine it as much as possible. Then we're gonna go ahead and mix in. The flour, the baking powder, and the baking soda, and then stir it all until nice and combined. So first things first, the flour, 2.5 cups. Again, my flour is in a container over there, so I'm gonna go grab some and bring it back in small portions. Okay, 1 cup of flour. 2 cups of flour. And then a half cup. Okay. Then we're going to add in the baking powder and baking soda. So we need a half teaspoon of baking powder and a fourth of a teaspoon of baking soda. Here, 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. Gotten direct from the local Safeway. Actually, all this was. Yep. And then the baking soda. This was bought basically yesterday. All brand new just for today's stream. We're putting it all together. I'm going to put this over off to the side. Okay, with all of this, we're going to mix it together till well combined. Without ideally spilling too much over the edges, like I am doing right now. We should get something that smells very citrusy and very good. Really getting the rest of the flour there. Okay. Now I'm trying to get out all of these lumps that you can see. Some of these are from some of the orange zest that we put in there, but some of them are from flour just sort of globbing up together the way it's not supposed to. Also trying to keep this bowl steady without ideally getting too much flour on myself. We'll see how well that works. Yeah, there's a bit of orange stuck there. Go ahead and keep mixing. It's all good and mixed together. Now, if you're really looking to make this an esophageal surprise, and I don't actively recommend this, but if you want the person eating it to be surprised, you could toss in some red pepper flakes. Not too much, mind you, you don't want them to have a bad reaction, but a sudden surprise as it begins to go down their esophagus, that's the true surprise, the red pepper flakes, and suddenly they realize they're taking a bite of it, and they're like, oh god, what have you done? What is this? It's not some orange citrusy thing, it's spicy! This isn't a dessert, you've tricked me! And that is the true surprise, the true esophageal surprise. Not that I am actively endorsing doing this, I am a fan of dessert. As anybody who knows me knows. Alright, that is mostly mixed together with some of the orange still stuck to the whisk, so let me go ahead and rinse this off quickly. Didn't need the whisk for much else. And with our batter prepared, I'm going to go ahead and grab the muffin tin. Now I am going to be, you know, I forgot something. I forgot something super minor. I forgot to add the salt. I meant to add in a half teaspoon of salt into the mixture, which I should do. But first I'm going to go ahead and spray these. Some nonstick cooking spray. I think this is finally running out. I've had it for months. I think it's reaching the end of its life cycle. Make sure to get the edges here. I think I got everywhere. Awesome. Great. Hold on. Right there. Fantastic. Just to make sure nothing sticks in the way I don't want it to. Okay, great. So, let me go ahead and actually grab that whisk back and add in a half teaspoon of salt, which was intended, but I almost forgot. Okay, and in the mixture along with the baking soda, baking powder, and 2.5 cups of flour, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. There we go. Now the recipe is actually the way I wrote it down. All right. Go ahead and mix that in with everything else. Nice and yes. Oh, I'm gonna go move the whisk back to where it was, getting rinsed off. Okay, and with this, I am now going to pour the mixture. Um, I'm going to pour the mixture as carefully as I can uh, into these muffin tins. I'm a little worried this is actually a bit wide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab something that I had prepared for this. I'm going to transfer this into a pitcher that I have, and I will be right back. Oh, right, and this has all been transferred over. Oh, no, I think my spatula fell. And it's been saved. Okay, with this all sort of transferred over into this pitcher, I'm gonna go ahead and carefully. That is too much. You want it filled only about halfway up, but I overestimated a little. More like this. I may have to move some of that out. There. That is more what I intended. Okay, better. Don't over pour. Be nice and gentle. I'm gonna have to transfer a little bit out of that first one into one of the others. Well, maybe a little bit out of that last one too. Um, okay, let me go ahead and do that. I'm gonna grab the spatula that I just did and sort of move that over just a touch. Because the last thing I want is this spilling over. And I think this is probably the easiest way to do it. Let me just go ahead and. It's okay if a little bit gets on the edges. I don't really mind. Baking is often a messy process, and I'm just going to make sure that one of these doesn't like overflow too terribly much. So I'm just going to move that over. Again, I'm going to reiterate the disclaimer from earlier. Not a chef, not a baker. I am a software engineer. Uh, and so uh, I have, in fact, cooked and baked things in the past. My recent pecan pie at Thanksgiving was met with great delight, which I was quite happy for. But yes, if you are looking for a professional chef, please go literally anywhere else. Food Network, I'm sure, has a plenty of good resources on that front, among other people, among other resources and networks and stuff like that. People who are well trained to do all of this kind of thing. All right, great. And that is everything poured in. Oh, that one's a little bit low, actually. This one in the corner. There's just enough batter left to give this one a little bit of a maybe a little too much. Just a touch. Just a bit much. Okay, let me go ahead and move a little bit of that into this one. There we go, transferred. See, success. All right, great. Phenomenal. I'm actually gonna give this one just a touch more as well. It's a little low. And then with that, that's kind of the end of the batter, and we are good to go. I have a little bit more cleanup to do than I originally intended, but that's okay. That'll be part of the interlude that's going to be happening as I put this into the oven. But first, one of the important things is once you have all the batter poured and everything, what you're going to want to do is you want to gently tap the cake pans against a hard surface, and that's going to remove bubbles. You want the bubbles gone from the bottom. Okay, go ahead and get this into the oven. Okay, and I'm going to begin moving everything aside. So during this sort of interlude where our lovely little esophageal surprises are baking, I'm going to go ahead and begin working on the actual omelet. So these cakes need to be baked for roughly 30 to 45 minutes. So uh, I'm going to check them in about a half an hour and then see if they're springy. And if they're not, then I'm going to leave them in for a little bit longer. And then I'm going to top them with some raspberries, since I don't think we'll have enough time to go through the whole heavy whipping cream process. Why do they call it oven? When you in the cold food and out hot eat the food. Incredible. Thank you. All right, so let me go ahead and do a little bit of cleaning in this sort of interim. And prepare for the whispering omelet, which is next on the list. I'm also setting a timer for myself so I don't actively forget that in 30 minutes I need to check in the oven. Okay, great. Let me go ahead and clean this up a bit and get all the ingredients that we're going to need for the whispering omelet. Up next, omelets are easy. We just need eggs, water, a little bit of salt, some pepper, a bit of butter, and some cheese. And that's about it. Luckily, I managed to avoid making too much of a mess around here. Great news. Okay, and let me get everything back into its proper place. So, in case you were wondering why my hands were covered in food dye, these haven't quite finished drying. Um, so what I was gonna do, and what I am going to do, is in the game, the Whispering Omelet is made out of larval cores and tangy cheese, and these larval cores in the game are green. Unfortunately, the eggs dried on one side and not quite on the other, so they are in fact these are our larval cores. They're just eggs dyed green, but it's part of the fantasy and it's part of the fun, so that's what we're going to be using. And I'm going to switch the camera position. Da da da. Who saw that coming? Nobody. Um, for the second half of this while I'm cooking the omelet. So brief transition period. Do 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 do. Hello. The world's gonna spin a bit as I get this on a tripod. I say on a tripod. It's on a tripod on a stack of boxes because that was the only way I could get the cords to like reach the way I wanted them to. Let me see. Is that a good view? Okay, hopefully that is stable. Also, your tavern music is gone. What? Restart. Tavern music should be back. Okay, there we go. Well, now the tavern music is back and good to go. Okay, so now I've changed positions. Let me go ahead and get things a little bit cleaned up. I'm also going to move the mic. Hopefully this doesn't make too much of a noise. Since I'm going to be over here. Let me go ahead and put these back. Grab out my Asiago cheese. I know the second camera is no longer really necessary, but I didn't set up a scene for this, so it's what we're gonna work with. Okay. Now, my cooking spray, I'm gonna make sure to spray the pan so everything is not gonna stick. Okay, so sort of this next part of things, I'm switching over to this camera to explain. So with the sort of 3 large eggs, a couple tablespoons of water, about an 1/8 teaspoon of salt, a pinch of pepper, and whatever else you might want to mix in there. I recommend chives. I don't happen to have any, couldn't find any, unfortunately. Yesterday out and about, I'm sure they were somewhere, I just missed them. But I do recommend chives if possible. You're going to go ahead and whisk that all together, and then you're going to heat butter. I mean, I put in a little bit of cooking spray just in case because I'm nervous about anything accidentally sticking. But a tablespoon of butter, and just sort of melt it in a pan over medium heat, and then pour in the egg mixture. And then I'm going to go ahead and, as the eggs thicken, I'm going to add in the cheese and some bell peppers that I happen to have available. And that's how we're going to do it. And that is the simplest way. It's just an omelet. There's nothing super complicated about it. But the fun part is the larval cores we're going to be using more than anything else. For exact recipes, of course, everything is in the Discord. So, let's see. Let me grab so I'm going to put in the 3 eggs into the bowl. Our lovely little larval cores. Look at that. Hopefully I'm still audible from this position. Everything hasn't just gone completely silent. Now, if you really want, you can mix in some green food dye here and make the actual omelet itself green, but if you were here for the actual opening menu, you'll notice that the actual image of the omelet in No Man's Sky is not green, it is a regular yellow, so I'm not going to be doing that. So stay true to the image as much as possible. I'm just going to wash my hands. Right. Yeah, my hands are going to need a good scrubbing after this to get the dye off. But that shouldn't be too bad. Alright, let me go ahead and add in the water. A little green dye is already in there. I say go a bit and add more. I don't think I have that much green dye left, but I could add in just a touch more. Let me go ahead and add in 2 tablespoons of water, though. Water. Okay, and then let me go ahead and grab the teaspoon salt. Roughly 1/8 teaspoon of salt. And then let me go ahead and, on medium heat, begin getting the tablespoon of butter. How much is this? Do I have exactly a tablespoon? That's roughly 2 tablespoons. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this in half. Yes, I just eviscerated a knife. No, don't call me out about it. Alright. Okay, let's see. That should begin heating. Now that the butter is in the pan, it's heating up to a medium heat. I'm gonna whisk together the mixture. Let me see. If you both, or I suppose if you all, I don't know who else is here. Let's see. We've got a few people here. I mean, if you both, or say you both. Keep saying you both because you're the two that are chatting. I suppose more than anything else, feel free to say something if you want to. It's not bad being a lurker, but I always appreciate getting some input. So vote now if you want me to add in some more green food dye, because there's already kind of some in there. I could go all the way and add in more. So I will check back on chat for your votes in just a second. Also, I just realized the microphone is facing this way, so in case I wasn't audible, I am asking for opinions on whether I should add in more green food dye to the omelet or not. So, vote yes if you want to see more food dye and we'll turn the omelet green, or vote no if you are not interested in seeing a green omelet and want to remain more true to the image that is given in the recipe, even though technically the larva cores are green. You're audible, don't worry. Awesome. You could add the leftover dye from the eggs. Yes, that is what I'm thinking. If everybody wants to see that, absolutely, I'll go ahead and do it. In the meantime, I'm just going to go ahead and spread the butter around a bit. And I'm going to go ahead and open the cheese. So I've chosen Asiago for today because the actual recipe is made with tangy cheese, at least according to the recipe in No Man's Sky. So this is a slightly tangy cheese. There are definitely tangier cheeses out there, but it sounded good, so I figured why not a bit of Asiago. All right. I'm getting the impression that I should add in the leftover dye, so that's what I'm gonna do. So we are going to turn the omelet green just for fun. Go ahead and toss out the eggshells, actually. Easier thing to do. In fact, I don't think I tossed out the eggshells from the other thing. Let me go ahead and do that while I'm thinking about it. The dye is kind of dried on, actually. But I can go ahead and add it next year. Today, I go ahead and add in some more green food dye. Just for fun. Why not? should make it, at the very least, a light green, and I'm going to go ahead and whisk this all together. That is the egg mixture all mixed together. I'm gonna put this on a sort of medium low, actually, heat. Just to be careful. Great! And with... Let me switch over to this camera. And with the egg mixture all sort of mixed together, I'm actually going to add a little bit of pepper too, because I mentioned that earlier. And I'm going to go ahead and pour in the egg mixture into the pan, and as it thickens, I'm going to go ahead and add some cheese. And some bell peppers, probably. Go ahead and add in just a bit of pepper. I know that's not a bit, I really like pepper. It's a little bit more than a bit, but... probably should mix that in. Great, and with all of that, I'm going to go ahead and pour it in. And let the omelet do its thing. And in the meantime, while that's sort of cooking and thickening, I'm going to go ahead and put some of the dishes that I now have into the dishwasher. Smell the cakes, the esophageal surprises cooking in the oven, and they smell delicious. I am super excited. That is most everything cleaned up. And then I let the dishwasher take care of the hard work. So use this new paper towels. Let me go ahead and grab one of those out while I'm waiting. The eggs are thickening a bit on the edges first. So not quite ready yet. We still got some thickening to do in the center. And then the omelet will be near ready. here for cycling reminder. I get a little bit, but not too terribly much. Eggs are still thickening in there a bit. They're coming along. They should be done reasonably soon. And then I'm going to actually grab out proper cheese grater, and that's what I'm going to grate this whole block of Asiago with. You could just use shredded cheese if that's your preference, or you could use any manner of other choice of, however you prefer to, however you prefer to add in your cheese and bell peppers and all that fun stuff. But I quite enjoy the process of just shredding up the cheese. I think it's fun. So I got this block. Why not? We'll go ahead and grab it in. Bell pepper. I just have some frozen bell peppers. If you happen to have fresh at home, those work well, if not better, than frozen, of course. So, looks like it's doing well on the sides. The egg mixture is thickening nicely. The center leaves a little bit to be desired at the moment. It's still a bit squishy. Of course, I don't want to overdo this omelet, but I think it's still in a good shape where it's not burning on the outer edges. And of course, now we're gonna have a lovely green omelet. So, it's mostly thickened at this point, and I'm gonna go ahead and add on cheese and bell peppers. Now, in general, for an omelet, it is recommended to just put this on one side instead of on both sides, because you're going to fold over the omelet at the end. At least in certain styles. There are so many different styles of making an omelet. To enumerate them now would take ages. So I'm adding in quite a bit of cheese because I do quite like cheese. Feel free to change however much to your heart's content. I recommended roughly 1/4 of a cup to 1/2 of a cup of cheese. I am not actively measuring this. I'm just adding it until I look happy with the amount of cheese. And that's going to be my go-to. And what I'm deciding is that I just actively want a lot more cheese. Okay, great. Go ahead and add some peppers in too. With that peppers and cheese are that would make good use of the rest of that cheese sometime soon. That's just about everything. Now this is thickening up nicely. Center is still a little weak. The edges are cooking nicely though. I'm trying to check the bottom to make sure nothing's burning. It is getting a little toasty. I'm gonna grab a plate and begin to transfer it. broke a little bit on the edge, but that's okay. It's mostly fine. All right. Let me go ahead and fold that over. I say, I need to grab a fork. There we go. That is one green omelet. Let me go ahead and clean up the plate a little bit. I'm kind of voting that the whispering element of the whispering omelet just sort of end up being the sound that it makes while cooking more than anything else. I'd love to believe in my abilities, but I don't think I have the power to. I don't think I have the power to make this omelet really whisper the way it's supposed to, at least in game. Supposedly, the monstrosity aspect of it causes it to be whispering. But with that completed, we now have one whispering omelet. Green and delicious, perfect for breakfast, pretty much. And it is noon-ish, so closer to brunch for me, I think. Excess oil unfortunately got onto the plate when I was transferring the pan since I couldn't quite pick it up properly, but that's okay. Let me go ahead and turn this off. And in just a few minutes, we'll be hitting the 30-minute mark from when we put in the esophageal surprise into the oven. So I'm going to go ahead and take a look at it in just a couple of minutes. Looks tasty. I agree. Okay. Okay. It should be a delicious omelet. I'm going to go ahead and give it a cut. While we're waiting here, I might as well go ahead and cut this into portions. I just put away the fork for some reason. So, like a quesadilla. We're going to cut into it a bit here. Oh, actually, you know what? Before I did that, I should have taken a photo of it before I cut it into pieces, but that's okay. Let's go ahead and just continue. It's too late now. Cut into 3 pieces here. I have to clean up some of the excess oil. Unfortunately, they got pooled around it. Not what you want to have in the omelet. Okay, great. I'm going to take a photo of it for posterity's sake while I'm thinking about it. Add some cheese on top, some more tangy cheese, just because I love Asiago so much. Why not? Makes a good use of the cheese. 2 cheese graters. I have 2 cheese graters, but I don't have a blender. Go fucking figure. Ooh, and that is the alarm telling me to go ahead and check on what's in the oven, the esophageal surprise. Let me go ahead and turn on that. It's okay, I own 5 peelers, but no grater. Incredible. Well, between the 2 of us, we've got all of the cooking implements we need. Okay, we're gonna have to put this back in the fridge. We'll wrap it up in. Using that. It's gonna go pretty good. I'm actually gonna wrap this in a bit of parchment paper. Or yeah, like get some pressing feel. In the oven. I have a few photos, and I'll share those finalized pictures in the chat later. Maybe I should grab one more just for posterity's sake. And we're good. Okay. Awesome. Now let me go ahead and check on the esophageal surprise here in the oven. Oh no. I say that, having slightly placed the crescent seal a little bit too high up. That's okay, because it needs a fix for later. Grab out the oven mitt. Aha, my lovely little silicone red oven mitt. And look at that. Check how spongy they are. I want to make sure that they're cooked all the way through. We fixed this, baby. Oh no. I might have created quite the conundrum for myself in a little bit. I jiggle it a little. Wow, that worked! Genuinely cannot believe that just jiggling it a little fixed my problem. Alright, let me go ahead and put this down. This over here, so I can show all of you lovely people watching on stream. Would you look at that? Our esophageal surprises rising in the oven. Those lovely little orange pastry delicacies are almost good to go, and I'm going to make sure that they're fully cooked all the way through. So I'm just going to use a chopstick. Make sure. Yeah, looks like. Yes, it looks like all of these are cooked and spongy and good to go. Phenomenal. Get them out, which I will likely be doing with a knife and transferring them over onto a plate. bit toasty, but anybody who knows me also knows that I have an extremely high tolerance for just heat. Like this is, I can wear a jacket and like long sleeves and everything while grilling and be completely fine. And some people used to marvel at that, but to me it was just completely normal. So, I've got some extras that I guess I'll put on a different plate. Or maybe I'll put these on top. Trying to plate them in a way that looks decent. At least a little. These do look decently like the esophageal surprises. What's the goal? Like, in terms of shape, I think I nailed it. If you look at the actual picture of an esophageal surprise on the No Man's Sky, oh, there's just one left over. Well, I don't know. I'll fit you somewhere. Somehow. That looks like a Christmas tree. Oh, right. So that is the esophageal surprises. Good to go. Let me go ahead and cancel oven. So it's good. Good to go. Well, look at this, everybody. Esophageal surprises all put together. Now, we don't have time really left to, put a whipped cream topping and everything on all of them, but I do have instructions on how to do that in the Discord if you want to go ahead and do that. What I will be doing, however, for plating's sake, if nothing else, and to make these look lovely, is I'm going to go ahead and put some raspberries, some fresh raspberries on top of this whole thing, and then take some lovely photos. I do recommend opting for some whipped cream if you have it, or similar. Oh, right. Let me go ahead and get some fresh raspberries. So, fresh raspberries here. Let me go ahead and actually take a photo. And I'm going to grab one of them, probably this one here. Put it onto its own separate plate, and then cover it in raspberries. Should be delicious. Combining the sort of fruity zest of one. Okie doke. And so I've sort of scattered around some raspberries. I had the sudden idea to put some cream cheese on it, so I did a little bit. I didn't spread it very well, but it is on there. So ideally, whoever's out there, you could do a better job spreading this than I did. Again, I generally just recommend some whipped cream. It'll work a little bit better. But I had some strawberry cream cheese, and I thought, why not add more of a fruit flavor to it? So, pardon the poor spreading job, but everything else is quite excellent. And that is the esophageal surprise put together. And it should be delicious. I'm actually going to try it right now, live on stream. I'm just going to eat the raspberry first. Oh, especially with the tanginess of the strawberry, this is phenomenal. I do think it would have a bit more of an orange zest to it. It definitely has one. It would have a little bit more of one with a bit more orange juice than what I managed to get of the oranges. But overall, quite good and a bit tangy. Excellent. All right. Well, everybody, this has been a ton of fun, and I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. I don't know if I'll be doing more cooking streams in the future, but at the very least, this one was fun to go ahead and attempt. I set up everything super quickly, so I'm amazed it came out as well as it did. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, all of the recipes, if you want to make this for yourself, potentially better than I did. Not too hard to do, considering I left a food processor, blender, and a whole bunch of other things. Is to go into the Discord and check out the recipes that are there. It's got everything you'll need in order to be able to make the same things that we made today, the whispering omelet and the esophageal surprise. I'm very happy with how those esophageal surprises turned out. So, thank you everybody for being here. I hope you had fun. I had a ton of fun going through all of this and making it. It's been great hanging out with you. There are going to be like 2 more streams left for the remainder of this year. And then I have some updates about what's going to be happening next year, not only with this channel, but how streams and everything in the Discord and all that fun stuff is going to happen. I've been planning out a whole bunch of stuff up to roughly 6 months in advance. So it should be a fun time. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with you closer to the end of December. Thanks everybody for being here. It's been awesome, and it's been great having you, and I hope you've enjoyed the cooking inventions of the Bowtie Guild Tavern. Thank you everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!